Oh, hi again, Dee Mann here, the Student Placement Manager at ACAP. I would like to do part 2 now of a video regarding your counselling hours and what counts, how much of it counts, etc. So on this one I want to focus in on how many hours of what am I allowed to do. So keep in mind, out of all of your 250 hours of placement, that's a lot of placement, only 40, 46 or 80 hours of that is going to be counselling, okay, or is required to be counselling. Now, we hope that's a minimum. If you can do 50, 60, 80, 100 hours of counselling, fantastic. The more you can do, the better, right, because that is the whole point. But the minimum you can do is 40, 46 or 80 hours. So how much of that is made up of what? So let me give you a few examples. You can do 10 hours of mindfulness, meditation, relaxation, same thing, right? Mindfulness, meditation, relaxation, they're not the same thing, but we'll call them the same thing. You can do up to 10 hours of that. Now, what does that mean? Well, you may be working with a group with Wise Employment. They may ask you to set up a mindfulness group that they can send their clients to. Well, that'd be fantastic. And you can run that group each week, and you can count 10 of those sessions in the counselling hours column, and then the other 15 that you do, put them in the general hours, right? You can't do 46 hours of mindfulness and meditation as your counselling hours, because that would be terrible if you actually left that placement having never counselled a client because you spent all your time doing meditation and mindfulness. Okay, so 10 hours, that's it for that column. But it all counts. It all goes in the general hours, okay? Now, let's say, for example, one of the employment consultants has a client who's a nervous wreck, or who they're really not confident to come back to work, self-esteem through the floor, all sorts of things have happened to them, and now they're just beaten and self-esteem is really shot, right? They may have suggested counselling to them, and they may have said no because it's overwhelming and too much, very scary, right? What they could then suggest is a relaxation session or a mindfulness session, and then you can count that towards the 10 hours, okay? Now, another thing, as I've described that before, so they might come, the first 2 sessions might be mindfulness, and then you're gradually moving it more into counselling, okay? That's the point. You shouldn't really see one client for 10 mindfulness sessions. That's not the point of you being there. The mindfulness is your access to relaxation and to trust. So that's what you're using the mindfulness sessions for, is to build that relationship with the client so they trust you, so that you can get in and do some deeper counselling work with them. Now, another thing you can do is telephone counselling, okay? I heard an example of one of our students who's on placement at Wise, rang a client to confirm that they would be in for their appointment that they had made, and the client said, no, I can't come. Now, the student spent 40 minutes on the phone with the client working through what the problems were. Now, I don't know what the problems were, but they were able to help the client to such an extent that the client agreed to come in for the next session next week to keep working on it, okay? Now, here's the thing. If you did a 40 or 50-minute call with a client on the phone, and then the client didn't come in and didn't do anything with that, then we're not going to count it as counselling as such, right? Now, if it's a crisis response, a client's rung up and they could even be suicidal, right? And they've rung to say to their Wise consultant, I've had enough, I can't keep doing this, okay? Now, you might end up on the phone with them. Then clearly that's crisis counselling, and you're definitely counting that, okay? But if it's really the babysitter can't come and therefore I'm not coming, okay, and you're going to spend 10 minutes with them working out who could babysit for them, that's not counselling, right? You're not going to count that call. So you've got to be discriminating yourself, and whatever you do, don't rip yourself off, right? Don't think, oh, they'll never know, what the heck, just stick it in there, it'll be fine. Don't do that to yourself, okay, because in the end only one person is going to suffer, and that's you. out of not having sufficient high quality counselling hours. Now, if you get to the end of towards the end of your first term and you don't have 15 to 20 hours of good quality counselling work, then call us and we will help you. We will work out how we're going to work with WISE to improve and increase the number of clients that you're seeing, okay? But don't just fudge it and think, oh, well, what the heck? Because really, it's just you. It's only you who's going to be ripped off at the end of it, because you'll be working with your own clients in no time, and, you know, you've really got to be able to do that efficiently. So telephone counselling. If it's a crisis call and you're on the phone and you know full well that this is exactly the kind of work that Lifeline does, Salvation Army does as a crisis call, then that's absolutely fine. You can count those calls towards your 10 hours of telephone counselling, okay? Now, so with the student who I mentioned, who the client wasn't going to come in, and then he did a 50-minute call with her working on the issue. So it was telephone counselling, not telephone problem solving, right? Telephone counselling, and then the client agreed to come in afterwards. That is definitely a counselling session and goes in the counselling column, okay? Now, so I'm going to leave it to you as the, you know, mature professionals that you are to work out whether the telephone call you did meets the PACFA definition, explicitly contracted counselling relationship with a focus for change. Now, that 50-minute call wasn't explicitly contracted, obviously. The client didn't know that this was a counselling session. But at the end of the call, the client got such good value about working on this issue, whatever it may have been, decided that they wanted to continue to work with the client, with the counsellor. So I'm saying that that one can be counted towards a counselling session with that client. So say they come in next week, that's session 2, okay? Now, if it didn't work and it really wasn't a good telephone session and then they never came back again, then clearly I wouldn't be counting that. Put that in the general hours column. But if it worked efficiently enough or effectively enough so that the client agreed to come in for another session, then put that in your counselling hours, right? It's still telephone, but put it in your counselling column. Now, you also have a requirement that you must see some of your clients, about 50% of them, you must see them more than once. Now, why do we make that a requirement? It's because the counselling relationship, as in the definition, the counselling relationship develops over time, the level of trust, and therefore what the client is willing to talk to you about in that session and how much they'll trust you to tell you what's really going on can only develop over time. So you need to see your clients for 3, 4, 5 sessions, more if you can, but not forever and ever, right? You've got to be careful about that too, but your clinical supervisors will help you with that. But try and see them for 3 to 6 sessions so that you get really deep into the trust and into the issue so that you can explore really thoroughly with the client what's behind all of that. So now, what was I going to say about that? So you have to always take the opportunity to invite the client to return. If they say, no, I don't think so, then you could explore that with them, right? But if they're just like, I'm out of here, I never wanted to come here in the first place, then just let them go, okay? Now, those all count, but in the end, over the 2 terms, when you look at all of your counselling hours, there should be round about 50% of them that you've seen more than once. Now, it's not a hard and fast 50%, right? It might be round about 50%, right? But that's what you're aiming for. So if you get to the end of your first term and you notice that you've only seen 2 or 4 clients in that entire term more than once, then you need to call us because there's something that you're doing or not doing that's not working, okay? And we need to change it very quickly because all of your client work in term 2 is going to have to be seeing clients more than once. So we have to set up with you how to make that happen. That doesn't happen by magic. It happens because of the kind of conversations that you have with the clients, right? So if you're having any trouble getting clients to come back and see you again, then call us, because we will probably do some work with you to find out what's going on in your sessions or not going on in your sessions. That means that the client's not seeing enough value and they're not wanting to come back. Because, I mean, really, a client gets to sit with someone who listens really well for an hour and talk about their problems. What's not attractive about coming back? So if your clients are not coming back, then we need to work with you to find out what it is that you're doing that leaves the clients with thinking, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, so that's some hints for you about, once again, what counts, what doesn't count. If you go into Sonia, you will find a long description there of all the things that count and don't count. And also on your Excel spreadsheet, your logbook, that's also got very clear guidelines about what counts and what doesn't count. Remember what I said, there are always exceptions. And also that this is an ACAP problem. It's not a WISE employment problem, so don't ask them. Your supervisor's there to solve it for you or to ask them questions about it. There's no point, they don't know. They can't answer the question. ACAP can answer that question for you, so call us. Okay, good luck. I hope you're all enjoying your placements. I'm going to make another couple of videos about other things that have come up. Hopefully they'll be getting shorter, which would be great. So see you on the next video.